I have to say, Kai isn't who I have expected. She is half a head taller than me. It has been weeks, but I can finally put a face to the person with the messy bedside manners who'd leave beer bottles all over the room. Put a face, more like put the abs to her name. Curie is out, by the way. I know. I saw her. Wait. Darrin, the bottles. Right. Bottles? What bottles? Kai scratches her head while watching us frantically running around the room. We pull out the empty bottles we had stacked in the back, place them around the room exactly where she'd left them in. What? Exactly where he left them. And now you will clean them. I paused. To be honest, this plan worked better in our heads. Did you save all these bottles just to make me clean them up? I ask myself that question all the time. Curie coddles you, but I won't. You need to put more effort into our daily chores. Leave Mama out of it. Fine. I will clean up. I guess Darrin can be firm, too. She would make a perfect leader. Firm, powerful, and gorgeous, and I'm getting distracted again. Mama? She is referring to Curie. Curie soft-adopted her. Soft-adopted? Is there also hard-adopted? What's with her mask? She's allergic to cats. When the doc recommended her to take medications, she took their biggest air filtering mask, too. What an odd bird. What did you do with the clock? That was me. Sorry. Kai visibly jumps when she sees Darrin's crippled clock. I can understand her apprehension. It gave me quite a fright, too. Spirit jolts awake from his nap and walks over to sniff Kai. Calling Curie Mama is one thing, but Kai must love her a lot to put up with her having a cat while being allergic to them. I recall Darrin mentioning she and Kai were orphans from the Usurpation War. It is understandable if Kai latched to Curie as a parental figure. Kai makes very slow work of the room, putting empty bottles inside a recycling crate. Darrin goes to bed while Kai is out, carrying the crate to the collection bin room on this floor. She gets back to the room. Only Spirit and I are sitting on Curie's bed, watching a documentary show. Kai must have sensed my intention of staying up to talk to her. She nods in our direction, then approaches the both of us. Hey. Hey, back. Kai pets Spirit's head while staring at the prints on my shirt. After a few seconds, she remarks, Is it just me, or are you wearing a shirt that says Nip Paws? No. It's clearly a catnip shirt. You're an odd one. Says you. You don't have to worry about me, you know. I'm like the nicest person in this room. And humble, too. She is sassing me, Darrin. Kai hisses. Don't sass kangaroo. Darrin's groggy voice came from above us. It makes sense that she is listening to our conversation. Sorry, just playing with you. Yeah, I get it. It's good to have some fun around here. Kai leans in close to me until she's sure that Darrin won't be able to hear us. She has the salty smell of the sea mixed with a feminine floral fragrance. I don't know if you planned this, or if it is a hell of a coincidence. But your life is pretty interesting, Rue. Is she referring to me being here? And about Darrin. Please don't play with I wanted her. Kai says her mess. No. Darrin was like my sister. We have been through hell together. But I have never seen her talk about someone like she did with you. She's happy, Rue. I ramble too much. Go to bed. I'm waiting for Mama. Documents of this room make an odd dynamic. They are a jigsaw puzzle made from an old and rusty die cutter, barely fit together. Instead of lining up edge to edge, they meet with a click and a clank. I like that imagery and the kind of oral imagery that goes with there too. Very, very nice. Hey, Mama. Kai says as soon as the door opens. Curie pulls Kai in for a hug. Ah, cute. Who reluctantly returns the favor with a groan. Hey. I've never seen Curie being so physical. It is hard to shake off the clinging thoughts inside my head. Darrin has been thinking of us as if we were together. It is all my fault. I didn't even try to draw a line when I was with her. It was as if the idea had been planted from the beginning without my notice. See, what I don't get is why she's so adamant about not being a thing with her and it just being sex. Like, I don't really get why that's so important to her. And I don't know. That's just me, though. And for some twisted reason, I welcomed it. My mind plays Curie's words over and over again. I don't want her to hurt Rue, but what if she hurt me? I'm really confused. Why is this... I don't understand her dilemma at all. I really don't. a smile full of life. This is what I remember the most about Miranda back when she was a young child. The photos in my hands can only capture half of her cuteness, a third of her innocence, a tenth of her optimism. The next photo jogs another memory. Everyone told me that she was my spitting image, and I believed them. Her tall nose, her auburn hair, and two faint dimples when she adorns her iconic smile. It was like looking into a mirror and finding hope staring back at you, a corporeal hope in the form of a younger version of yourself. Whenever she came back from home, she would knock on the door 5 times, our secret door knock. Dop, dop, dop. I only recognized that it had been raining when the sky grows darker and the water droplets fall heavier on the only window in my room. Dop, dop. I both love and hate the rain. I love the way the rainwater blurs the depressing view outside my window. It constantly changes and shapes itself, twisting and bending the lifeless plastic vines, the artificial trees, and synthetic grass. Every second is a new surrealist scene to appreciate. Yet I hate the way the rainwater blurs my only escape outside this dull, egg-white jail. This is so weird. Like, what I've noticed about these VNs is there's always some very odd story elements to me. There's some very strange story elements in a lot of these VNs. Like this whole, like, human dreams thing. I don't get it. I mean, it might actually, like, make some kind of, connection later in the story, but right now it seems like these human dreams are completely separate from anything else in the world and don't really mean much for the whole plot. I don't know. They're interesting though, but I kind of don't like this right now because it's depressing, and I also don't like the drama and the insinuation that Rue just wants to be a sex friend, or I don't even understand. I basically am a hopeless romantic, and I want things to turn out well in these stories, always, and I feel like the sheer amount of drama is unnecessary. That's just me, though. I know that that's unpopular as hell. That's why most fiction is how it is. I know that, but that's how I am. I'm very sensitive, and this stuff tears me up inside. It literally does. I'm literally skipping it, I'm sorry, because I don't know, I can't really stand the depressiveness right now. She stirs. Her compressing joints make cracking sounds as she does her morning stretch routine. Before I can think... Wait, hold on. I don't think... Okay. Before I can think of giving her the space she needs, her large hand holds me by my shoulder and coaxes me back into familiar warmth. Tips of our digits touch, and we slide our fingers between one another into an uneven lace. Did you sleep okay? She hums against the top of my head, her fingers drum on the skin of my shoulder. Once again, I have fallen asleep by her side. The first time I suggested it, Darrin agreed without asking any questions. Even then, I could see her thinly veiled apprehension in her timid pause. She tensed up when I set my pillow next to her. She had an inquisitive yet silent gaze when our eyes met in the dark of that night. To my surprise, each night Darring's touches grew bolder and more eager. Your fingers are almost twice my size. They are. See, what's weird is, like, they mentioned this kind of tension thing, and now it's all sweet again. I like that, but it's weird that it kind of feels mood whiplashy the way this is written. I just basically want a happy resolution to the issue, like, right now. That's what I want. Hopefully, they will give me that at some point. They are. Fingers are almost twice my size. They are. Darrin lazily sighs. Everything about Darrin dwarfs my being, from her physique, her maturity, and her sense of calmness, her display of kindness and honesty to a fault. She even excels at her job. What are you thinking about? My whole body tenses up when Darrin breaks the silence. She must have sensed me mentally pulling away in her arms. Nothing. I'm just enjoying this. How long have I stayed pressed into her? My body resigns the tender strokes of her fingers. I ignored the heated eyes on me, knowing it'd be the gaze that is too heavy for me to hold. Darring's patched up arm announces itself with a thunderous roar, and that is our cue. Another minute? Come on, we can't be lazy. Darrin without a whimper as I detach myself from our entangled bodies. Act 2. That whole thing was just Act 1. How many acts are there? Key has been eyeing me like a hawk as soon as I touched the ground. To be fair, Kira did the same thing when I first arrived. Thankfully, all the gawking had ceased. It probably helped that she got to stare at me all day long while we were working together. Even Darrin had the courtesy to make her staring more subtle. Is that a mole? Kai points her finger right above my brows. On my forehead, it's my power button. I only press it when I go to sleep. An audible gasp splits up from behind Kai's mask. Kai makes it too easy sometimes. Can I press it then? Surprise twist, Kai reaches out for me. I dodge backward and move away from her hand. Of course not. My challenge is the circuitry. As I predicted, she goes for another attempt. I duck and slip away from her. Why do you keep saying these things? You must want me to press it, don't you? Dear wrong, stop her. I'm behind Darrin and put her large, very muscly body between Kai and me. An unexpected twist, Darrin gives me an understanding nod. Facing my giant bodyguard, Kai's feet cautiously slow down to a halt. Okay, it's not nice to press another person's button. Poor Kai couldn't look more dumbfounded. If she wasn't wearing a mask, her lower jaw would have dropped low enough to fit a soft drink can. Now both of you are messing with me. Kai hisses. She tries to reach around Darrin, but her efforts remain futile. Darrin's lengthier limbs effortlessly repel Kai's grip. Children, please. Carrie finally gets involved, just coming out of the bathroom. Without much sleep last night, she is a bit grumpier than usual. Our room is a full house at last. Come to think of it, it was a little funny Kai came back the night someone visited the woman in my dream. Yes, it is a mole. Or is it? My mind keeps drifting back to the thought of my lunch sitting in the fridge. Porterhouse, fresh from the town's butcher. Tender and full of flavor, sweeter the closer it gets to the bone. The thought of my juicy piece of steak bolts out of my mind once Curry's head pops on top of my shoulder from behind me. Oh hey, Curry comes to me after she has finished inspecting the work of the other cooks. I prefer Carrie peeking over my shoulder rather than Ida's apathetic eyes. She feels nice pressing up against my back just to see the full view of my work. She shakes her head, and her curious eyes turn grim. Too thin. We won't crunch. Her smile blooms when my knife splits carrots into bigger slices. The creativity behind our lunch is commendable. With the same ingredients, we can make different dishes every meal. Good. Curry is unperturbed, as if nothing happened last night. It was twice this week that we woke up to her thrashing and crying. By the time we shook her awake, her bed was drenched with sweat and tears. Oh no! Rue's salmon pie was nice. Keep it up. I smiled back at her. For our fortnightly challenge, I baked... Oh yeah, she's finally doing them now, huh? A salmon pie and served it in pineapple sauce. I didn't win, but everyone's feedback was encouraging. Ida didn't like my pie crust, figures. Her delight is hard to please. I sigh when Clary leaves my station. Kai had to hold her until she fell asleep again. It wasn't the case before. I wonder what has changed. Hey, Rue, they just delivered your dried fruits. Oh, just in time. A dried fruit cocktail might come in handy. They say this concoction relieves stress and anxiety and also reduces insomnia. Interesting. Do I owe you anything? Yes, actually. They are a bit more expensive than we thought. My heart jumps out of my throat when she hands me the receipt. It's nearly twice what I paid back home. Right, I will get you the money at lunch. This better be worth it. You baking a cake? Ida's soft voice comes from behind me, cold as ice. The staff's expression comically turns from a grimace to an awkward smile. She nods at me and scurries away as Ida approaches. She maintains a professional distance between us. Her pretty face adorns the usual smile. From an outsider's perspective, it must look like she's giving me a lesson instead of us having a conversation. Don't worry, it is something I can put together in a small kitchen. Carry on. I half expected Ida to disapprove, but a lot of cooks told me they've used the kitchen delivery service to save a trip to town. The allure of breathing in the fresh air after a long period in the basement doesn't go past me. I could use time away from the fiery hot kitchen myself, if I'm being honest. It must be why I didn't mind being asked to fetch Nimgon before our lunch began. It doesn't take long for the elevator to reach the top of the building. The final steps of stairs take me out to the sunlit patio. Nimgon is looming over the balcony with her back against mine. The wind from the sea flies ash and smoke towards the inner land. Nimgon? Oh! Nimgon hastily screws the dark cigar into the nearby ashtray. You didn't have to put it away. Why are you here alone? Morak doesn't like the smell. I can attest to that. Breathing in the tar clears my throat, as if I have gone without water for a day or so. Chars in my throat. although I am not sure even a nymph could smell the smoke through Nimgon's glass aquarium. Perhaps Nimgon and the merfolk share other places in the basement where they could breathe in the same air. By the way, I want to say I'm happy for you. Our shells can be tough to crack. I heard you and Darrin hang out often these days. Is it this simple? We like each other, and therefore Darrin and I are together forever until the end. Nimgon's knowing gaze drills into me. Instead of feeling exposed, my ears perk up for whatever she has to say next. You have some preservation. I wish I could be 100% sure it won't end badly. It was this way of thinking that left me barren all those previous years. Ha. If you go into something and expect the ending, you will never be happy. You are a good woman, Rue. Maybe she can help you find the person you couldn't find in yourself. There is a me I can't find by myself. You also have the advantage of being a nymph. I can't influence people's attitude toward me, if that's what you meant. Right, I meant to say that at least sex won't get stale. The potency of our pheromone is greatly exaggerated in the media. While there is evidence that links exposure to nymphs' pheromones and the increase in organs' low sex drive, it only works with frequent physical contacts. Anyway, thank you for coming to get me. Every so often, Nimgon would be here by herself before lunchtime. I expect she wants personal time with the kitchen staff who comes for her. I really like Nimgon as a character. She's great. You know, they have proof that smoking is not good for you. Thank you for your concern, Rue. You're right. I should know better. I used to be a doctor, after all. Of medicine? Yes. How did you rise to power? Rise to power? That's a fun way to put it. Did you know about the flood in 1977, a year before the big war? Our hospital was in the flooded zone near Fen. To say we were short on staff was an understatement. For every one person who recovered enough to leave, another 5 were hospitalized. The majority were unhappy with the ineffective senior managers, especially after we found out rich folks paid them for preferential treatment. I had no choice but to step in, and it kinda stuck. Well, you definitely have a knack for it. I don't think it's... Oh, wait. I had no choice but to step in, and it kinda stuck. Well, you definitely have a knack for it. There we go. I don't think it's something I can do. To think not only for myself, but for the collective good. Right. Nimgon's smile turns mellow. Her eye gazes far beyond the me who stands before her. Leading is like flying an aircraft. You get a better view, but once you fly too high, the people on the ground are no longer visible. Interesting. It's a pretty interesting way. But I love a lot of the imagery and ways of putting things. This VN has done. Being too involved, and you compromise your personal and professional life. Too detached a leader, and you might as well not have one.